Don't they make a difference? Oh, there's nothing like a nice vase of flesh pink gladdies. You know, to make you feel at home. Ladies and gentlemen. Oh dear. We're a land of great tradition, and it's lovely to be home. But I had a special mission as across the world I roamed. For though I'm just an ordinary mother and housewife, I had to tell the world about our wondrous way of life, our beautiful old legends, the saga of Ned Kelly, and famed Australian women like Dame Patty and Dame Nellie, and those countless tales of courage, like that last great ride of Lassiter. What an honour it has been to be your first lady ambassador. I've been to England and the Scotland and the Isle of Man. I've been to Wales and to Holland and to France and Japan, China, Carolina and Cambodia too. I've been to Burma and to Germany, Brazil and Peru. I've been to Italy and Sicily and New Mexico, to Pakistan, Afghanistan and wild Borneo. I've been to the Malayan archipelago and I've been to Ireland and to Thailand and to Heligoland, Silesia, Rhodesia and Portugal, Spain, to Malta and Gibraltar, Yucatan, the Ukraine, Siberia, Liberia, Estonia, Greece, Albania, Romania, the Peloponnese, Scandinavia, Gallipoli, Moravia and Tripoli, and to the Argentine. And from everywhere I've been, in 3 short roving years, I've brought back souvenirs and something else besides 1,004,286 coloured slides. Oh dear. But you know, there was one thing sadly lacking in every nationality. None of them had our wonderful Australian vitality. I've seen the pictures in the Louvre and the Suez Canal, the trooping of the colour, and I've walked down the Mall, Westminster Abbey and the Taj Mahal. I've seen the Moulin Rouge that's in the Place Pigalle. I've seen the Empire State Building and the Bridge of Sighs, and a fountain in Brussels that'd open your eyes. I've seen the pyramids, the Sphinx and the Parthenon. I've seen the Thames and the Tiber and the Seine and the Don. I've seen our own Joan Sutherland in all her glory, Irma LaDouche and West Side Story, My Fair Lady and Gypsy Rose Lee, The Sound of Music and Do Re Mi, and of every show that I didn't get to see, I bought the original cast LP. But there was one thing sadly lacking for all their theatricality. None of them had our good old J.C. Vitality. I met Jekyll and Kennedy and Mrs. K. And the menu and Doris Day. And Edith and Sitwell and Sabrina too. I met Madame Nicole and Mrs. Nareau. I met Edith Lyman and Dinah Shaw. Margaret Truman, Dr. Barbara Moore. Helen Keller and Janie Powell. I met Christine Jorgensen and Roberta Cowell. In London I pushed to the head of the queue. And I met Lord Lindley and Tony too. I met Helena Rubinstein, Elizabeth Arden, and Margot Fontaine at Covent Garden. I met Maria Callas at the Opera La Scala, and I presented them all with a toy koala. With a zipper. I think it's just something warm, grey and marsupial to keep your jams in. Oh, you should have seen their faces. But you know, there was one thing sadly lacking in each famous personality. None of them had our wonderful Australian vitality. Australia is a nation of vitality, which the envy of the world cannot destroy. When each baby starts to breathe, it also starts to seethe with wonderful vitality and joy. We're famous for our warmth and hospitality, our laughing, smiling, carefree race away. In these times of grim foreboding, the southern hemisphere's exploding with Australian vitality. Let me look at you. You haven't changed a bit. Oh dear. You haven't. How wonderful it is to get back to all those lovely Australian smiles. You know, it's something we've got all on our own, the Australian smile. Even on my way into Sydney from Mascot, even the Venetian blinds seemed to be smiling. They did. And I knew I was back home. I suppose you notice a difference in me. Go on, be honest. Yes, a few more crow's feet. But what are they but the dried up beds of old smiles? It's a lovely concept, isn't it? That was one of the words I learnt on my trip. There's no doubt about it. There is no doubt about it whatsoever. There is no doubt that when you go on a trip such as the one I have just returned from, all those wonderful places, meet all those sophisticated folk over there. You know, a little of it is bound to rub off, you know. Still, I dare say in a week or so I will have my Australian accent back again. I certainly notice a difference in your fair city of Sydney. Of course, I'm a Melbourne girl. And east-west, home's best. Blood is thicker than water, you know, no matter what they say. Still, it has been a real treat for me to come up here and see our sister city of Sydney again after quite a long absence. I noticed quite a few changes. Don't those architects do a wonderful job, don't you think? Mind you, all those years years at the varsity at the taxpayer's expense. They ought to have something to show for it. But you know, they have such a difficult task when you come to analyse it, because they have to build something that is beautiful and at the same time permanent. Had a little trouble in Melbourne in that respect recently. Still, as you know, ladies, the architects are ruled by fashion just the same as we are. Heaven alive, I'm no clothes horse. But I like to be clean and tasteful. As a matter of fact, see this costume I'm wearing now? I wore it in London. I wore it in Rome, in New York, in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Dublin, Edinburgh, Athens, and quite a few heads turned. They can't teach us a thing over there, I'm telling you. I was talking about architecture. And you know how the architects are the slaves of fashion, the same as we ladies are. But I noticed new buildings around Sydney that certainly weren't here when I was here before, not so many moons ago. Buildings like Qantas Building or the Chevron Hilton Building up in Macleay Street there. You know, the chappie who designed that hasn't got anything to worry about whatsoever. That style will come back. Of course it will. Of course it will. When you come to think of it, it's really like my husband Norm's navy blue double-breasted, isn't it? And, you know, new shops, all new amenities and facilities you got in Sydney. As a matter of fact, the other day I was having my lunch in the Woolworths Gourmet. They do have a lovely hot suggestion. They do. Look, as a matter of fact, it's worth trying French cutlets on glaze. Lovely, really. What'll they think of next? And I was sitting there, you know, and I was thinking to myself, I thought, well, look, there is a fundamental difference between Melbourne and Sydney. There's no two ways about it, despite the fact, you know, that we in Australia have come of age. And all the wonderful cultural renaissances we're always having over here, you know. Despite this, to me, there is still this difference between Melbourne and Sydney. Melbourne, just to me, is more... And Melbourne's more conservative. More conservative, whereas Sydney, to me, that's to me, Sydney, to me, is more cosmopolitan. Just my idea. You won't have heard that view expressed before. It's just my own by cosmopolitan, I mean you've got newspapers on a Sunday. And of course you've got your wonderful opera house up here, and down in Melbourne we have our cultural centre to look forward to. You know, I think fundamentally we're just a big bunch of kiddies, aren't we? We've always got to have something round the corner to look forward to. And how lovely for the powers that be to have arranged for us to have these two wonderful things to look forward to for such a long time, don't you think? Oh, I think it's marvellous. Still, show business aside, I really would like to speak to you about my own family, because we're a very closely knit, very wonderful, very happy family. It was marvellous to get back to my husband, Norm. Oh dear, just the same, of course. It was such a pity he couldn't have come on the trip with me, but there it was. You see, we'd sold this block of land in the Melbourne suburb of Sunshine to make it possible, and, you know, it only seems yesterday that Norm and I were going through all the pros and cons finance-wise on the kitchen table there. On the dining room table. And quite soon, you know, after adding up a few facts and figures, Norm realised that one of us would have to make a big sacrifice. Anyway, next day I went down to get my ticket. He's done very nicely for himself, you know. He's got himself one of these wonderful square-line Holdens, you know. Aren't they marvellous cars? Well, it's more a conveyance, really. He's got himself this I think General Motors are absolutely marvellous, don't you? I think they're gorgeous. I mean, letting us call it Australia's own car, don't you? Look, they didn't have to do that. Such a wonderful gesture, don't you think? At any rate, he's as happy as a sandboy there with his new toy. And, of course, my married daughter, Val May, is absolutely lovely as ever. She's living out, you know, a little one on the way, too, I think I can announce. Oh, I don't know how I'm going to feel. I'm going to be a grandmother for the first time. Still, I suppose I'll get used to it. Oh, I'm mad. She's living out in Hyatt, which is a beautiful dress circle suburb of Melbourne. And of course there's my little Kenny, you know. Oh dear, shooting up. Have to put a brick on his head. Quite firmly from time to time too. You know, he's got a few little spots and blemishes, but nothing that a smear of Rexona ointment won't fix up. And of course, sport mad, he's always rushing off with Norm to the semis, to have the semi-finals of the football in Melbourne. They queue up for their tickets, you know. I said to Norm, you can have a drink at home. But no, you know, still I suppose it's character building. And here I am up in Sydney, primarily, to see a little of my son Brucey, wonderful boy, and a very, very good son to his mother. He, of course, was married. I know many of you were at the service at Holy Trinity. He married when? Oh, it would have been March 59, quite a while ago now. He married Joylene. And her sister Shirlene made such a beautiful bridesmaid, didn't she, you know, in that apricot organza. With just a touch of oyster. At any rate, Joylene and I, because I went straight off on the trip, as you know, after that, Joylene and I hadn't really had a chance to get to know each other very well. However, now I'm up here with them. She seems to me to be a very, very sweet little person. Well, Brucey's happy anyway, and that's the main thing, isn't it? Oh, yeah, she comes from a very, very comfortable family. They gave her everything, though her mother has never enjoyed good health. It only goes to show that it won't buy you everything, will it? Oh, yes, they've got a most absolutely gorgeous home. Let's see some of the stuff they've got. And, of course, you know, they gave her everything, of course. Wonderful education. You know, I'm all in favour of education in moderation. Because it can, mums, can't it? They can grow up just a little bit too quickly. They become a little bit too sophisticated and knowing for their ages. Heavens above, anyway. Amongst many things that we gave them, we tried to do our best, Norm and I. Can't do any more, can we? Amongst the many presents we gave them for their wedding was a picture. Well, it was an original, really. You can always tell an original. The eyes follow you all round the room. You know, I wish you could see it. It was a lovely thing. I just wish you could see it. It was a picture. It was a picture of a coloured lass. wearing a big yellow straw hat. Oh, beautiful thing, you know. Unique piece of work, you know. Where is it now? Certainly not hanging on their wall. You know what they've got instead? They've got a picture of a Chinese girl with a green face. What does it mean? That's all I want to know. What does this modernism, futuristic stuff mean? Give me a good Van Gogh self-portrait any day. Or the one of the bridge. Still, it's their lives, isn't it? Suppose. Certainly they have a most beautiful home they built. They're out at Campbelltown. You know the big hill at Campbelltown with the convent of the Good Samaritan right up on the top there? There's no doubt about them, is there? They always pick the best position! They're running the country as far as I can see. Mind you, some of my best friends... I suppose. Anyway, Brucey and Joylene are as close to the view as they can get. And they've got some beautiful friends, and that's the main thing in this life, isn't it? Speaking of friendship, you know, it reminds me that a little group of us in Moonee Ponds and elsewhere have started this little committee called the Bury the Hatchet Committee. Our object is forgive and forget, live and let live, you know. And why not? Life's too short. Our object, you see, is to raise monies to bring Tokyo Rose to Australia. Sydney Waratah Festival. After that, we'll have a Famoomba. Oh dear, and our treasurer, you know, is a very, very wonderful woman. She's in the audience tonight, and she will be that cross I'm mentioning her. Sorry, Madge. Sorry, dear, I'll be in hot water afterwards. But she is such a wonderful, wonderful person. But she's more a human being, really. She is. I met Madge in the old country. As a matter of fact, we were broadened together. And it was only on the boat coming over that we became so close, really. We shared a cabin and a wash basin. We used to rub through our little personals together. No better way of getting to know someone, too. And you see, we came via New Zealand, the Panamanian way. What a quaint, delightful little spot that is, too. As a matter of fact, Madge had spent her girlhood, and Madge in New Zealand. And I was quite interested in the place. I said to Madge, as a matter of fact, I believe we have this Maori problem there. She said, well, Edna, yes, we have. But she said they've really adapted themselves marvellously well. And have really learned to fit into the New Zealand way of life. Isn't that marvellous? She went on to say, she said, as a matter of fact, Edna, she said, I've got a lot of time for the Maoris. That gives you an idea of the sort of woman she is. Oh, yes, indeed. If there were more people in the world like Madge Allsop, it'd be a very different place. If some of our leaders and Prime Ministers Ministers were all like Madge Allsop. Come to think of it, our Prime Minister is like Madge. And what greater compliment! Hasn't he got a wonderful speaking voice? Not a walking voice or an eating voice or a thinking voice or a speaking voice. I saw a picture of him in the paper only the other day, and it said our Prime Minister was smiling happily. What a lovely way to smile, don't you think? Oh, look, I think some of those journalists are clever with their choice of words, don't you? They ought to be writers. But quite seriously, you know, everywhere I went, on my travels, and to whom everyone I spoke, they all had a word for our Prime Minister. Wasn't always the word I expected, but you see, he is so right, ladies, when he says that we here in Australia are in the melting pot. We're in the melting pot. When you come to think of it, it's really just a question of who's going to melt first, isn't it? And on behalf of Australian womanhood, let me say quite definitely and categorically, it won't be